The scripture reading today is from the book of Malachi, chapter 1, verses 6 to verse number 10. Malachi, chapter 1, verses 6 to verse number 10. And I'll be reading from the King James Version of the Bible. The scripture reads, "A son honoreth his father, and a servant his master. If then I be a father, where is mine honor? And if I be a master, where is my fear? Saith the Lord of hosts unto you, O priest, that despise my name, and ye say, wherein have we despised thy name? Ye offer polluted bread upon mine altar, and ye say, wherein have we polluted thee? And that ye say, the table of the Lord is contemptible. And if ye offer the blind for sacrifice, is it not evil? And if ye offer the lame and sick, is it not evil? Offer it now unto thy governor. Will he be pleased with thee, or accept thy person, saith the Lord of hosts? And now I pray you, beseech God that he will be gracious unto us. This has been by your means will he regard your persons, saith the Lord of hosts. Who is there even among you that would shut the doors for naught? Neither do ye kindle fire on mine altar for naught. I have no pleasure in you, saith the Lord of hosts. Neither will I accept an offering at your hand." I have read Malachi chapter 1, verses 6 to verse number 10. Let us be led in prayer.
It's high. Insurance only covers so much. So if you want to help contribute, one, she has, somebody does. I don't think she does. GoFundMe page. Or you can just get the t-shirt that's got all this pink on it. It says something, something, and a whole bunch of stuff with that. So that's why I'm wearing it today, because y'all know I had something cute to wear, so now I just got to put this out. So I said I would make sure that if anyone wants to help, they can do. They need to keep on. You know what, we're not supposed to have inside jokes, but all I know is wait till next Easter. It's going to be on. So, that being said, I thank everyone for coming in this morning, and I pray that your minds prepared for, last week was more of a lecture. I needed people to know some background information, so when we start doing where I'm at now, we then will know, okay, now this makes sense. Last week we addressed some of the reasons why the Israelites had a mindset of disappointment, discouragement, and the loss of faith and hope. Because they felt like God had not kept his promises to them. And of course, God did keep his promises to them, but the problem was they knew what the scripture said, they knew what God said, but they never really took the time to fully understand or grasp the blessings of the promises in what the scriptures was teaching. They were so caught up with this Burger King mentality. I want it my way. Or J.G. Wentworth, which is I want it now. So they wanted the blessings now, but they never stopped to think, instead of worrying about what I don't have, let me be thankful for what I do have. So they were focused on the wrong thing, so they missed the actual blessings that they did have. Second, they didn't understand, or they failed to remember that God doesn't bless sinful behavior. So they didn't have faith in God because his promises wasn't when they thought they were, and when it came and the way they thought it was supposed to be. And second, they were in sin. And the funny part about it is, just like we know, as parents or as children, you didn't get rewarded for bad behavior. I don't care who you are, if you have a good parents, good mother and father, you're not going to be rewarded. These folk was jacked up in sin. We're going to address just one of the issues, which is with the preachers or the priests. But they had some things, and it's almost like saying, how are you going to get mad because you didn't get something, but what you were doing, you should have got something else. You know that whooping that you deserve, but God didn't give it to you, but you mad because you didn't get this, but he should have put this on. That's what made me laugh. I said, these folks have no idea how good they have it, and they're whining and complaining. The third thing, matter of fact, there were blessings and curses. Blessings and curses. God said, if you do this, blessed. If you do that, cursed. Deuteronomy 27 to 30. If you want to read them, just know that majority of the things between 27 and 30, these people were doing. Third thing they were doing, as to why they were not seeing the blessings of the promises of God, is that they really hadn't changed spiritually. You know how, I'll just make it personal. You know how you meet somebody and they done messed up, and it's like a relationship. I'm going to change. You know what? I'm not going to do that no more. But you know, good way you turn around and say, do the same thing again. These people would say something, but they never really changed. And we all know some people like that. But God still loved them anyway. That's why he started out by saying, I have loved you, said the Lord. But you're going to have the nerve to ask, in what ways I loved you? I have put up with your foolishness. I haven't wiped you off the face of the earth like I should have. I haven't beat you down like you need that whooping. And I chose you out of all people. So these people had stopped doing the one sin, which was idolatry, which got them into slavery in the first place, but they exchanged it for some more sins. So it's like somebody says this, I'm going to stop lying, but you replace it by not telling the truth. Somebody said, ain't that the same thing? No. There are some people that just straight up lie, gossip. And then there's folk that will not tell the truth, meaning they won't tell the whole truth. So you can stop lying and start not telling the truth. So which means just know you can do both. So, and there are other sins again that Malachi we're going to address later on down in the rest of the book, but these folk again failed to remember that God does not bless sinful behavior. So throughout the book of Malachi, God uses Malachi to address attitudes as well as sins. And sometimes we miss this. God is dealing with their attitude as well as their sins to inform them that their current sinful mindset is linked to their behavior. Because so a person thinks, so what was with this way? If you're having a bad attitude when you come to work, Other people are going to see your bad attitude. You don't have to say a word, but they'll see it. That's why I never understood how mom and them say, when you got in trouble and you done did something, you don't realize that your body is telling on you. I want people watch you anyway. And they say, come in, let me give you some more to cry about. And you're like, I ain't say nothing. You didn't have to say a word. I guess none of y'all had that kind of whooping. But, oh, yeah. Okay, because I didn't say nothing. But let me show you what you said. So God is trying to expose them. He's like, I'm going to show you that your mindset and your behavior is the reason why you're still in the same situation and circumstances that you're in. And sometimes we need to get that in our mindset. The reason why we're still in the same rut, or I like to say sometimes the majority of people are in the same financial situation because they haven't changed how they spend their money. You ever thought about that? Somebody that just complaining about, I can't pay this, I can't pay this, and I can't pay that. But they got a pair of Jordans on that they paid for. I can't pay this, I can't pay this, I can't pay that. But that cell phone don't get cut off. I can't pay this, I can't pay that, and I can't pay that. But they still watching Power. And if you're watching Power, what station is that on? Stars, okay. See, y'all people cable. She knows the setup, she knows. But you got to have it. And that's the extra, don't tell me. It used to be extra $9, so it's probably because, you know, you get people with color shows, they raise up the price during the season. Y'all don't know that. But the idea is the same, but if you can't pay the light bill, cut off the cable. Most of the time, your cable bill costs more than your light bill. I'm just trying to make some statements to say, the reason why most people's life don't change is because they don't change the things that they're doing, so the circumstances stay the same. So in other words, God is going through Malachi to clearly lay out to them that it's their own fault as why things have not changed for the better in their lives. So that's why when Malachi says, so the burden of the word of the Lord to Israel by Malachi was to notify them, as I said last week, to notify them that nothing changes if nothing changes. So if you don't change the things that you do, nothing's going to change in your life. Repeating the same thing over again, expecting a different outcome, people call it insanity. I just call it foolishness. So we go through verse 1 through 5. God addresses all the Israelites. Then in verse 6, which was read into your hearing, but understand verse 6 through chapter 2, verse number 9, God is addressing the priest's attitude and behavior. Verse 6 through chapter 2, verse 9, God is dealing with exposing and saying, this is what I'm going to do about your funky attitude. So, the priest would be considered today the preacher. So let's just keep that in mind. The priest back then would be considered the preacher, because that's going to make sense when I start saying what I'm going to say, or the ministers of the gospel today. But in order to get you where I need you to get you, so you'll understand where I'm going and why I'm saying it this way. Some of you have ever heard this before. That let's say if, I'm sure they're watching, Jimmy and Francis were having, it was her birthday. It was her Valentine's Day or anniversary. And for Valentine's Day or her birthday, Jimmy bought Francis some beautiful roses. 12 dozen beautifully fresh cut. If the aroma of the room was unbelievably well. But from the outside looking in, you look and say, now that's love. Look at that, that's love. Oh, he loved it at her. Look what he did. He spent all that money that he could have bought some groceries with. But anyway, that's just me thinking. He spent all that money to show how much he loved her. Now that's from the outside looking in. That's the way it would look, right? But there's some folks on the outside would expect her to have a smile on her face and show how much love and give a hug and all that stuff, and would expect her to, what's the word for it? Thank him for taking the time out to bless her with his love and affection and these wonderfully, beautifully hand-cut, no stems, what's the things to stab you? Thank you. Boy, my brain ain't working. I need water, probably. The thorns in there, so she can just pick it up, and you know she don't see well, so which means she'd have got a chance to smell how beautiful. So somebody just would say, she ought to be talking about, that's my husband. She should be letting everybody know I have the best husband in the world. Now, for those who know Francis, knows There will not be a smile on her face, not one time. I can see her just talking about giving him the hand, or the Heisman for those who know. Because he gave her what he wanted to give her, and not what she wanted. You have to understand this. Let me clear it up. We know that Francis wants chocolate. If you want to say it French, chocolate, brown stuff with sugar in the middle. And it must be more than 5 pieces, but it can't be less than 20. She loves her chocolate. So she expects on her special days chocolate. But he brought her roses. Would he be wrong to say, you ought to accept these flowers on the basis of the fact that I gave it to you? Because we can use y'all too. That's some things that you want that you dare, he better not know, he better not got by you. Because if you don't like flowers, then why would you buy flowers? She can't stand flowers. So I don't care how beautiful it looks on the outside. Francis, poor grandma, don't want no flowers. She want her chocolate. Now the question is the flowers what she wants? Or is that just what he wanted to give? Here's why I say that. The answer actually relies on the relationship that they have. If they have a true relationship, he knows good and well what she loves, what she likes, what she dislikes, and what she hates. Therefore, because of the relationship they have, there ain't no way he would present to her anything other than what she wanted. And that's the same idea that Malachi was relaying to actually the whole group of Israel, but specifically the priest. Why is this? Because God had already made it very clear in the scriptures that they know what he expected in this sacrifice of worship. So if you look around at many places that opened up today, and we went by the scriptures, not Old Testament, just we're New Testament, let's say the New Testament. And you saw what God said, or Jesus broke down, and the apostles broke down and showed what they wanted. Would it look like something that God would accept based on his word? And the answer is no, because people are giving what they want. Saying, this is the best way I can worship, so this is the way I'm going to give God my best the way I want to. I'm going to give God what I want to, whether he likes it or not. And that's what people are actually doing when they give their worship. So when we see verses 6 through 14, I need you to, this is going to get this out of here, it's that Malachi addresses the priest's attitude and behavior toward their role as priests. Not only did they have a funky attitude, they had an issue about being the priest. Why not just quit? If you don't like being a preacher because you don't like something, quit. Because here God is addressing it. Because you know what, if you got a funky attitude, because if I had a stank attitude, y'all would know. There's no way I can hide. Y'all would hear it coming out. So 6 to 14, God addresses the priest's attitude. He says that I'm going to address your attitude toward me and your attitude and behavior toward the sacrifices of worship. Two separate things. I'm going to address how you treat me and how you're treating my worship. As a matter of fact, let me read it. We'll get the whole thing. And son honors his father, and a servant his master. If then I am the father, where is my honor? And if I'm the master, where is my reverence? The word there should be also, if you have another version, the original word is, where's my respect? Says the Lord of hosts. To you priests, remember he's talking to them, who despise my name. Yet you say, in what way have we despised your name? God answers, you offered defiled food on my altar. But say, in what way have we defiled you? By saying the table of the Lord is contemptible. And when you offer the blind as a sacrifice, is that not evil? When you offer the lame and sick, is that not evil? Offer it then to your governor. Would he be pleased with you? Would he accept you favorably, say the Lord of hosts? But now in treating God's favor, that he made be gracious to us, while this being done by your hands, will he accept you favorably, says the Lord of hosts. Who is there among you who would shut the door so that you would not kindle fire on my altar in vain? If I have no pleasure in you, I have no pleasure in you, says the Lord of hosts. Nor will I accept an offering from your hands. For from the rising of the sun even to the going down, my name shall be great among the Gentiles. In every place an incense shall be offered to my name, and a pure offering. For my name shall be great among the nations, says the Lord of hosts. But you, talk to the priest, profane it, in that you say, the table of the Lord is defiled, and its fruits, its food is contemptible. You also say, what weariness? Oh, what a weariness. And you sneer at it, and says the Lord of hosts, and you bring the stolen lame and the sick, thus you bring an offering. Should I accept this from your hand, says the Lord? Verse 14. But cursed be the deceiver who has a flock male, and takes a vow, but sacrifice to the Lord what is blemished. For I am a great king, says the Lord of hosts, and my name shall be feared among the nations. So I want you to consider for something this morning, real simple, this should make sense. Doing the right thing the wrong way. Doing the right thing the wrong way. The priests were doing all the acts of worship. They were doing the right thing, but how they accomplished those acts was erroneous. They were doing it the wrong way. Keep reading. Verse number 6, first part of verse number 6, a son honors his father, a servant his master. Then if I'm a father, where's my honor? And if I'm the master, where's my respect? God asked the priests of Israel why they show so little or no respect and honor to him in their acts of worship. Why you should not even show me the honor and respect that I deserve. And he said this because God was using a play on what in some of their prayers. They called God Father and they called God the Master, yet they did not honor him, nor did they show respect or reverence with their sacrifices they offered him. So that's just like a child saying, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy. But then he treats you like a redhead stepchild. Oh, that ain't gonna happen in my house. You call me one thing, but you act like something else. The Lord of hosts to you, O priests who despise my name, but you say, however we despise you. Malachi goes on to answer the question in verse number 7 of what the question was. He said, you are presenting. One version says polluted, another version says defiled. You are presenting trash, food upon my altar. Altar. God said, look what you're putting on my altar. But you say, how have we defiled, or how have we polluted, or how have we given you trash? And notice what more people keep missing is, he says, but you say, how have we defiled you? He begins by talking about his altar, but if you talk about his altar, then you talk about him. He wants you to know when you do what you do here, you're doing it to him. So he lets us know you have defiled me, in that you say the table of the Lord is to be despised. So he tells the priest that they're the ones who brought and offered sacrifices. And it was their duty to uphold the honor and dignity of the sacrificial system that he laid out in the scriptures. He's like, the problem is, I put you in a position, you know what you're supposed to do, but you ain't doing what you know you're supposed to do. They were still coming to church. They were still doing the 5 acts of worship, but how they went and accomplished it was wrong. They offered defiled sacrifices to God. He gives you the text. They gave him blind, lame, and sick animals. So God was addressing that it was not only the physical condition of the sacrifices that was wrong. So he said, okay, the sacrifice is wrong because look what you're giving. But it was also the spiritual attitude of the priest that was wrong. And you got to see how this is. The priests were doing the right thing, but they were doing it the wrong way. Verse number 8. And when you offer blind as a sacrifice, Is it not evil? The correct word to be used there is it not wrong? Which is where I got doing the right thing but the wrong way. He said, now, you give me a blind sacrifice. Now, ain't that wrong? Now, which means he's based on something that he knows they know. And when you offer lame and sick, ain't that wrong too? The priests were actually presenting and offering unacceptable sacrifices to God. So people who give God worship, they call giving God worship. And God already said what he wants. And they give him what they want anyway. Isn't that wrong? Okay, just want to make sure. So the priests knew what was wrong. Because remember, they're from the line of Levi. So they knew from the time they were grown, were old enough to understand this is what they were groomed to do. So they knew what they were supposed to do. They knew that it was going against the Mosaic covenant, and it was sinful to God to do what they were doing. God had outlined in his word through the scriptures exactly how and what he wanted in worship. Now I'm going to throw out the scripture for those who want to study and check it over. There is Exodus 12, verse number 5. Exodus 12, verse number 5. Leviticus chapter 1, 3, and 10. Yeah, Leviticus chapter 1, 3, and 10. Exodus 12 and 5. Sum it up. God said that there has to be a lamb, but the lamb must be a male, and it has to be without blemish, and it has to be the firstborn. Firstborn, male, without blemish. Leviticus 22, I got to read them, and I wrote it in here, so that's the reason why I got to read it. God gave specific instructions on how one is to worship and what he will accept and what he will not accept. And this is important because they knew the scriptures. And it says in Leviticus 22, verses 18 through 25, speak to Aaron and his sons, Levitical people, the priests, and to all the children of Israel, and say to them, whatever man of the house of Israel, or the strangers in Israel, who offers his sacrifice for any of his vows, or for any of the freewill offerings, which they offer to the Lord as a burnt offering, you shall offer of your own free will a male without blemish from the cattle, from the sheep, or from the goats. Whatever has a defect, you shall not offer, for it shall not be acceptable on your behalf. They knew that. And whoever offers a sacrifice of peace offering to the Lord to fulfill his vow, or freewill offering from the cattle or the sheep, it must be perfect to be accepted, meaning not defect. There shall be no defect in it. I forgot, it just said, verse 22. Those who are blind or broken or maimed, okay, or have an ulcer, meaning sick, or have eczema, or have scabs, you shall not offer to the Lord, nor make an offering by fire of them on the altar of the Lord. Either a bull or lamb that has any limbs too long or too short, you may offer as a freewill offering. But for a vow, it shall not be accepted. You shall not offer to the Lord what is bruised or crushed, torn or cut, nor shall you make any offering of them in your land. Nor from a foreigner's hand shall you offer any of these as bread of your God. Verse number 7, it talked about bread in the King James Version. When they offered up polluted bread upon his altar. So God answers that question. Because why? Because their corruption is in them and the defects are in them. They shall not be accepted on your behalf. He's talking to the priest. He's saying, I'm telling you, this is it. So as you can see, God had reiterated to the priest what he said in his word a long time ago. God was reiterating to the priest what he said a long time ago. Why is this important? Because I got to throw this in there, and I was trying to avoid it, but I have to say it. Some of y'all may have heard me say this before. When I hear someone say, Lord, you know you said in your word in that prayer, God is reiterating what he said in his word to them. So that means it's nothing wrong with you saying it, but God don't need to be reminded about what he said. You are the one that need reminding. That's why God reiterated to them. We have to have a constant reminder. Most times people forget this because we don't read or we don't study. So God contained the word for us to understand what he said. So again, I just have an issue. Every time I hear someone say, but Lord, you know you said in your word, you would do this. Really? You try to remind him what he said. He trying to remind you what the word says so you can act right. moving right along. Deuteronomy 15, 21 through 22. Deuteronomy 15, 21 through 22 is the other part. Deuteronomy 15, 21, 22. He says, but if there's a defect in it, a defect in anything that you offer, if it is lame, blind, or has any serious defect, you shall not sacrifice to the Lord your God. Here it is. But you may eat it within your own gates. The unclean and the clean people alike may eat it as if it was a gazelle or deer. So the priests and the Israelites all knew what God said, but specifically the priests, what he meant and how he wanted his worship, and what he would and would not accept as a sacrifice of worship to him. But they did it anyway. So God understood that. So God said, I'm going to start with the top. I'm going to start with the ones that are actually the problem. Because here's the thing. I used to make this joke. However the preacher is, it's how the user of the pews are. So if I'm a joyful person, I like to have fun, I like to laugh, that's what you should be able to expect amongst the people. Because we follow one another. It's just what we do. But if you get some guy then that's where the people are. So it's important to understand that God said, I'm holding you responsible. Not that you couldn't do better, but you know better and people are watching you. So God started with the priests because they knew better. They were the ones that should have rejected the sorry sacrifices. So it's not that they offered it, but they accepted sorry sacrifice from people and still had the nerve to offer it anyway. That's why God said, offer it into your governor. If this is what you think is good, give it to your governor. Would he be pleased with you? Would he accept you favorably, says the Lord of hosts? So in other words, God is saying, how can you have the nerve to present an offering to me? Something you wouldn't even give your enemy. Remember, the governor is the Persian, they were still under Persian rule. So the governor that he's talking about is a ruler from the Persian government, which is technically their enemy. God is saying, you're going to give me something that you won't even give your enemy? Y'all see how bad that sounds? That's like, I'm going to give you the drill, but back. That's like giving me fruitcake, but you don't eat it. It didn't cost you nothing because somebody else gave it to you. And then you're going to give it to me. And the thing is, I think fruitcake tastes pretty good. But there are people who I watch, it's like, you got that at Christmas 2 years ago. Look at the date. Move right along. So God was saying, how can you have the nerve to present to me and offer to me something that you won't even give your enemy, not your friends, your enemy. Matter of fact, let me give you a better example of how God feels when people do that to him. You know your mama loves you. Everybody knows mama loves you. They love their baby, regardless of how trifling you are, regardless of how sorry, how low down, how hateful, and how evil you may be. Mama knowing all kind of bad stuff that you've done, yet mama still love you. We ain't talking about daddy, because you won't get no kind of love like the love mama gives you. But now, mama loves you regardless. So for her birthday, or we'll say Christmas or birthday, whichever one comes, or Mother's Day, you give your mama something from the flea market. Or you give your mama something from Christian Mission. I'm not saying anything wrong with Christian Mission because that's where this jacket came from. Or you give your mama something from the Goodwill. Matter of fact, let me make it worse. You go buy some perfume from the Beeline that's in that glass case. Now, Mark, now just stay with me. But you wouldn't dare attempt to give that kind of stuff to anybody else you know. Stay with me. Y'all, that making sense to you? It's like, if it was somebody else, you'll drive all the way to Florida, go to the outlet malls, might catch corona for your friends and your so-called friends, for somebody that you probably know you don't even like you. You try to get them to like you, so you go down there and you buy something to them, or you get it for one of your so-called friends who you try and impress, or so you get them Vera Bradley, let's think about Coach, Tommy Hilfiger, I need one more, Dooney and Burke. can't say it, they usually trying to do it. That V thing. So you go down yonder, go to Florida, risk your life, and get your so-called friends or other people's stuff. So how? Now, the thing is, don't think your mama don't know what you did for your friends. I don't know if y'all know this or not, but when you do something for your friends, your mama knows. So how do you think when your mama knows that you gave what you gave her versus what you gave other people? Risk my life. Vera Bradley, a coach, but mama got something from the Goodwill. But you wrapped it up nice. Matter of fact, you gave it to somebody that rapped before, because that's the type of person I am. I can't rap worth a nickel. So I know some people say, you know how to rap? Here's some tape, here's this. I got you. So how do you think your mama would feel about what you gave her? Now your mother, now mind you, now your mama may not ever say anything to you about what she knows. But guess what she's saying in her heart? You treat everybody else better than you do me. And I've been loving you since day one. I want you to think about that. Because the idea is that's how God feels. We love everything else except God, and he's been there since day one. So what I'm trying to get you to understand is this is what God is trying to say. I need you priests and you other folk to understand you treat me like trash, but you treat your enemies better than you do me. So we get in verse 9. It says, now, since that's how you do me, I'm going to read it like it says, and I'm going to read it how it really says. But now entreat God's favor, that he may be gracious to us. While this is being done by your hands, will he accept you favorably, says the Lord of hosts. Sometimes these verses don't give it out. Let me tell you how it's saying. God is saying, after I just explained that you treat me this way, you have the nerve, when it says entreat me, you have the nerve to ask me to show you favor. But now entreat God's favor. You have the nerve to ask me to hook you up, but you treat me like trash. Y'all see how they're doing? So he said, you want me to hook you up, be kind to you, and then bless you based off how you treat me. Y'all know they won't work in a relationship. Ask a husband and wife. I bet Lynette whoop his behind. I don't care how big he is. Y'all know Lynette got some training. But if he mistreat her, I don't care what then she ain't putting up with it. We have to understand it's a relationship. And that's the thing. What we won't put up in our own marriages or relationship, do you think God's going to put up with it? If I want this, don't give me that. Give me what I asked for. So that's why Malachi, when he says, will he accept you favorably? If you look at your text, the text is verse number 9, that he is in capitalized. So Malachi is asking, will God accept you favorably? The way you're treating me, do you think God is going to accept and treat you favorably? And here's the reason why I say that. If God doesn't accept you, then regardless of your sacrifices, God is not going to accept it. Y'all have heard me say this before. If God doesn't accept you, it doesn't make a difference. If you got a stalker, because I know you done had one. I've seen some of your young pictures. Yeah, you can tell. I said, ooh. Oh, I said, yeah, look at it. That's people in the background looking like, hey. I don't care how much he brings to you. He brought you Louis, he brought you this, he brought you that, he brought you all this stuff. If you ain't feeling him, does it make a difference what he gives? That's what God's trying to say. If I'm not accepting you, I'm not going to accept anything that you bring. This is why we have to remember that God knows your heart. God knows your attitude. God knows your behavior even before you show up at church. God knows what you've been through when you was at home. When Ida Mae was arguing with, what's that fella that used to beat up in the movie? The woman. Ring no ring, no ring no right. Tina Turner, okay, because I was thinking Ida Mae, but I was just maybe like, see, you done found out that him and Lamont, they arguing. You know how folks just start stuff. So, thank you, that's what I was thinking, well, thank you. I was like, she's supposed to correct her. So it's Anna Mae, I said Ida Mae, Anna Mae, and then, but they came in, and when they walked into the place, she got a boot off, her eye looked like this, and he looked like he'd been whooped on. How y'all doing today? God knows what you've been through before you even get to worship. But God also knows what kind of funky attitude you came based on your own thing. So God wanted the priests to understand that he knew what and how they presented their sacrifice of worship was a direct reflection of their heart. What you're giving me is based on what you think of. I've had someone give me something that I realized they actually thought about this before they gave it to me. I used to didn't like solid ties. Just no. I couldn't think. I think solid ties were for stuck-up people that were old. But there's one person got me a solid tie. You can't tell me that. Because then it's like the person gave me something that they would wear themselves. So if they didn't like, you know what they do? Go to Goodwill. You know 25 cents a tie. Go get one, clean it up real good, put it in there, spray it down, say, here you go. No, they gave me something that they would wear. So God is saying, what you give me is a direct reflection of what you think of me. So when a person has a defective heart toward God, they're going to offer a defective worship toward God. That makes sense? So it's offering, when you have a defective heart, you're going to offer, or you're going to end up giving a defective product to God. Therefore, you can't give God trash and expect a treasure in return. I want you to understand what I'm saying. You can't give God trash, and the only reason why I say that trash is that's the young folks saying. You can't give God trash and expect to get a treasure from him. You can't expect God to bless you based on the fact that you gave worship. I came in, I gave worship. Just because you're doing the acts of worship doesn't mean God's obligated to accept your worship based on the fact that you gave. So if you came in here with a bad attitude, my mind right now is I'm thinking, I hate everybody. I don't even want to be up here. I hope they all burn in hell. They make me sick. I ought to go out there and let all the air out the tires. And I say, glory, hallelujah, amen. God knows you trash. We can hide in front of one another, but God knows. That was the thing that what the priest was doing. On the outside, it looked like they were doing everything right. And God's like, okay, I got something for you. Now, this is why this is important, because God says, oh, what you need to get out of your spirit when we read this text is, whatever you bring, whatever you put into, whatever you offer in worship, is exactly what you're going to get out of it. God said, I want this, this, and this, and this, and I'll give you something out of it. Because worship ain't for you, it's for him. But if you came for entertainment, then you're going to get what you get, but then if you don't get what you want to get, now you got an attitude. What you put in it is what you get out of it. Why is that important? There's a song by this guy by the name of Billy Preston. Some of y'all might be old, not old enough to remember, but Billy Preston sang this song in 1974. It's always in my head. And Eddie Murphy put it in one of his little things. And you have to understand that nothing from nothing leaves nothing. So if you don't put anything into your worship of God, anything credible, anything worthwhile, then your worship is worthless. And therefore, that's what you get out of it. Because you came with the wrong mindset. Let me just go on and get this over with. Verse number 10. Who is there among you who would shut the doors so that you would not kindle fire from my altar in vain? I have no pleasure in you, says the Lord of hosts, nor will I accept an offer from your hand. So God is basically saying, since you offer imperfect, sorry, worthless worship, here's what it's saying. I would rather you shut the doors of the church or the temple and stop worshiping. That's what he's saying. If this is how you're going to treat me, shut the doors, lock it up, don't come. And that's what I'm trying to tell folks. If you don't want to worship the Lord, stay behind the door. You can't tell me, no, I'm not telling you. I'm just saying, if you don't want to worship the Lord, you got an attitude with God, God's saying yourself, stay home. Shut it up. If this is where y'all going to do what y'all going to do to me, but I told you what I want, shut the doors, lock it up. Because that's why he said, so that you would not kindle the fire from my, I would rather, which one of y'all would just go ahead and shut the doors? Then he goes on to tell us, I ain't pleased with you. So I want you to shut the doors, and on top of that, you make me sick. I ain't pleased with you. Would not have it with none of y'all, and I would not accept any sacrifice of worship that you present or offer to me. So in other words, God is saying, if you're going to treat me like trash, then you ought to stop coming to worship and stop playing church. That's today's version. If you're going to treat God the way you treat God, you'd only know God when you want something from God. God ain't no genie. He said, stop playing church. start coming. You're going to burn in hell anyway, so you might as well enjoy it. Eat, drink, be merry, because tomorrow's the next day or after the sermon goes or whatever goes. You're going to hell, so you might as well do it, because that's what you're doing. People are playing church. So I need you to see that God wants us all to know that he's under no obligation to accept our worship based on the fact that we offered it to him. God wants us to know that some of us come to worship with Cain's disease. Y'all remember Cain's disease. Y'all heard me say something about Cain. And they forgot that God has to accept you before he accepts your worship. Remember, this is Genesis 4th chapter, verse 3 through 5. Genesis 4th chapter, 3 through 5. Somewhere in there, God says, in the process of time, everybody was doing right. But all of a sudden, at one time, there was Abel. Well, it says Cain first. Cain brought his offering from the fruit of the ground. Then he talks about Abel bringing his firstborn and the flock and the fat. And it said the Lord respected Abel and his offering. He didn't say I expected Abel's offering. He said I'm accepting him first and his offering. But he said, but he did not respect Cain and his offering. So God has to respect you before he accepts anything that you give. So you can't expect God to accept your worship if he can't even accept you. That's all. So if you live in all kind of fire, you living dirty, you got, LaPon said sidekicks this morning, when the word was supposed to be is side chick, but we understand that's the version he's with because he's older. I was in tears, hey, don't laugh out loud. When he said sidekick.
No, your wife is sidekick.
Okay. So, understand, you can still be doing the right thing. Come to church every Sunday, but you can be still doing it the wrong way spiritually. That's all. So, God said, I'm going to get my respect. I'm going to get my honor. I'm not going to go without worship. Even if the priests and the Israelites won't worship me, you won't worship me right, I'm going to get it. Now, here's what he means, because he's saying this is a later on down the line promise that God is making. When God says in verse 11, I'm going to get it, I need you to understand there's going to come a day when the Gentiles want to do it. Y'all remember John 4th chapter verses 23 through 24? John 4th chapter verses 23 through 24, y'all had that memorized. There's going to come a time, he's saying, that when true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and truth. Because they were worshiping in truth, but they weren't worshiping the right spirit. For the Father is seeking such to worship him. Going back to them, y'all doing everything right, but your spirit ain't right. God is a spirit, and those who worship him must worship him in spirit and truth. This is what he's talking about later on. So, at one point, the Gentiles get baptized, so he's saying, if y'all don't do right, don't worry. That's a folk later on that I'm going to tell you you're going to do right. So God is actually shaming Israel. He's saying, I'm shaming y'all because y'all so sorry. That's how horrible you are. But God was also saying to the priests and to the people that didn't understand, remember now, they didn't understand the significance of the sacrifice. They didn't understand. God's like, I'm shaming you because you don't understand. Which means the sacrifice being without spot, without blemish, first male, spot without blemish, wrinkle, any defect. That's a foreshadowing of Christ. He said, I need y'all to understand that this now is going to you to understand later on. That's what Jesus is about. This is about the Messiah. The Messiah has to be the first, which is going to be my first, my best, without spot, without blemish. So saying, if I'm telling you, this is how I can accept. I won't accept anything right if it's not right. So that last sacrifice that ever could be done, when we read Hebrews, it said, no more bulls, no goats, nothing except this one sacrifice is going to suffice for our sins. And that's his son being perfect, without spot, without blemish, being a male and being the first. It's a foreshadow, and they couldn't get it. If I'm not going to accept it then, if I accept it then, I got to accept it later. So God's like, no, the only thing I'm going to accept is what is the right thing. 1 Peter, 1st chapter, verse 19. That's what I'm thinking about here. 1 Peter, 1st chapter, verse number 19. So, verse number 12. But you profane it in that you say the table of the Lord is defiled, its fruit and food is contemptible. Now, I was letting them know that he knew. Now, I want you to understand what he's saying. God let them know, I know that you're not offering your best. But what you're really doing is you're offering me the worst. At first, when I read it, I kind of didn't get it. He's like, I know that you're not offering your best, but you're not even giving me second best. You're giving me your worst versus the best. So the idea was that they were offering God what they wouldn't even offer their enemies. And the text is actually saying, it's giving you the idea that, remember, the priest was supposed to eat of the food, was some of the food that they sacrificed to God. In the text, they were saying, I'm not going to eat that. Now think about it. You're going to offer to God something that you won't even eat. You're going to offer me a fruitcake, but you won't even eat it. Why would you offer me something that you know I don't want, but you're going to offer it to me, but you wouldn't even eat it? That's how sorry they were. So then God said, I understand what you're doing because you have the nerve to say, oh, what weariness. We talked about this last Wednesday night, and you sneer at it and says, oh, look, God knew in their hearts that they were saying, I'm exhausted of going to temple. I'm tired of coming up here doing the same thing over and over again as service to the Lord. I'm tired of the burnt offering. I'm tired of sacrificing to God. Can you think a preacher had a nerve to say that? Then he might as well quit. Because that's the thing. They were trying to say, I'm weary. So that mindset and attitude is still going on today. Why? Because there are folks that may not say it out loud, but you got some friends that you know they've said it. That in their mind, they're saying, Sunday morning is coming. Lord, I'm so tired of going to church. I'm tired of going to worship. So it's the same thing every week. They do that bread thing, they do that choir thing. Somebody sang a couple of songs. Some dude get up there and pray with his eyes open, be confused at me. What's the other thing? You know I'm going to be messy. I don't feel like coming to church today. Because you know how that dude that teach school, the one that dare to go to the church there, he be looking at me for like he gonna buck up on me. So I don't even want, you know what, I don't even like being there. But I'm gonna go anyway, because I know I gotta go and get my worship out for the rest of the week. That's the mindset, but you know how I know it's the truth, because that was me. I wasn't preaching at the time, I was like, I don't feel like fooling with these folk. Man, come on, bro. You know what, I'm gonna sit in the back. Hope that nobody say nothing to me. Let me sit kind of in the middle so nobody can't reach up and touch me. I just didn't want to fool with nobody. Didn't want to go to churches, but you know why? Because I was still tired from the night before. I know none of y'all did things that on a Friday night or Saturday night kept you up late. So you finally come in, you got maybe a couple of half hours of sleep, and the water that you were drinking, the spirited type thing, caused you to have this sensation that I need to just, but I gotta go because I don't want to hear nobody's mouth. Tony couldn't tell me to stop drinking. What's she gonna do? I just wait till she go to sleep. Let me move right along. The point is, let me get my praise and worship on for the week. I ain't got to go Wednesday. I ain't got to go to Sunday school. Because you know what? Let me be quiet. Move right along. But the priests and the folks failed to understand that their attitude toward God in their worship, it manifests itself. Whatever kind of attitude you have is going to manifest it in worship. Here's why I say it. These are the same folk who got the wrong attitude, don't really want to be there, that were complaining that the preacher preached too long. You at home. You can get up and go pee. Come back, get you something to eat, but you complain the preacher preached too long. Now, here's my problem with that. If you're complaining that the preacher preached too long, ain't you the same person that sat in color purple for what? How many hours was it? I know you know. 2 hours and 34 minutes. Didn't get up and go pee one time. At the movie theater. And then you spend a couple of dollars, probably more than what you put in church today, at the movies to eat something. Then the same folk, let me get the young folk. You don't want to sat through the Adventures movie and sat there for 3 hours and some change. I can't do it. My bladder just got hard just thinking about it. So I wait till it comes out. But I know some folk that complain about church been too long, but you love the Adventure movie. I didn't get up. I just held it. Same folks complaining about church was too long, the preacher preached too long, but you sat in Black Panther and never moved. There's some folk I know said they watched it, act like they were getting up and sat back down again. Y'all see what I'm saying? Those are the same folks who didn't go to the bathroom because they're scared they're going to miss something. My thing is go tinkle, but don't say church was too long. Those are the same folks that complain about the song that they were saying at worship the song was too long, and I didn't like the song that he sang, or either the song was too short, he should have sang it longer, or maybe, hey, you know what, that's the same song he sang last week. He sang the same song. Ain't y'all got somebody else the same song? Those are the people, I'm just keeping it real. Now, the thing is, that's what's wrong now, it's too much sugarcoat. These are the people that can complain that ain't never got no money either. Can't put none in church. These are the same folk who bought $200 shoes, $200 outfit, dress, hookup, $200 or $300 suit. It depends on where you get it from. They traveling every weekend. They down up in Florida. They staying in hotels in Georgia. They eating like kings and queens and taking pictures and all that good stuff. But when worship come on, time to give, they might throw a couple of dollars in there. Every other week, not every week, every other week. I'm calling it out like it is because I ain't scared of nobody getting mad at me, but the thing is, I know. And you notice that what happens is your attitude, God sees it. He knows. He knows if you ain't got nothing. That's why I use Matthew's account about the woman that has the 2 pennies. Because it's not that God saying you got to give what you don't have. It's understanding when I do give, the purpose of why I'm giving. So therefore, later on in chapter 3, when he gets on and says, you ain't even giving right because your heart ain't right. You worry about what you're trying to keep, but forget what I blessed you with. So now I'm not saying you can't go visiting. I can't say you can't go buying your shoes, buying your dress, buying your suits, going to travel. I'm not saying not to do that. But what I am saying is be careful how you treat God. That's all I'm saying. Be careful how you treat God because God knows when you shake it. So God says in verse number 13, we're almost done. Somebody say you need to because the preacher been preaching too loud. And you bring the stone and the lamb, the sick, thus you bring an offering. Should I accept this from your hand? God said you end up bringing me that sorry, raggedy, ungrateful, funky attitude and behavior. You bring that to the church and call yourself worshiping me. You come here with the stank, talking about I worship the Lord. God is basically asking them, do you really expect me to accept and be okay with this funky attitude that you call yourself having, worshiping me, because you don't want to be here? But then the football game, come on. You will be out there in the cold, with the snow, with the thunder, the lightning, the rain, with no umbrella. 2.5 hours. Go, team, go! Is that how they say it? That, you see what I'm saying, is things people put priority over God. And then wonder why they're not being blessed. You have to understand that not saying that you can't have nothing, but make sure that you don't put something over God as your God with the blessings that you get. Because obviously to pay for to get in the game, God had to bless you with a job. To get to and fro from your house to that, God had to bless you with a car. To get the money to have the car, God had to bless you with a job. Y'all see what I'm saying? We sometimes put God below than it should be. Because folks will do this now. Verse number 14. I got to sum it up because there's no way I'm going to do all that. 14 is basically saying, God is saying, you have the nerve to offer me what you know I don't want, what I will not accept, but you have the nerve to tell folks, I know I ain't living right. I know I ain't doing what I'm supposed to do. Y'all know where it comes. But the Lord knows my heart. I know even 1 or 2 people may have said that in life. But the thing is, the Lord does know your heart. Because people will justify. If you look at it, they're justifying what they're doing. And the Lord does know your heart. Jeremiah 17:9. Matter of fact, let's see verse number 14. I'll use this word. But cursed be the deceiver. But cursed be the deceiver. Somebody trying to be slick with God, You know the Lord know my heart, okay. Jeremiah 17:9, the heart is deceitful. Oh, here we go. Above all things, it's deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? God does. So quit trying to be slick with God. That's all I'm saying is, you trying to be slick, and he is old. Move right along. The point is the priests couldn't fool and they couldn't deceive God, even though they were doing the right thing. The point is also making that the Israelites couldn't fool God. They couldn't deceive God, but they were doing the right thing. Therefore, we need to know that today, we can't fool God and we can't deceive God, even though we come to church every Sunday and do the right thing. Now, even though God was specifically speaking to the priests in our text, I need you to know, based on 1 Peter, 2nd chapter, verse number 9. 1 Peter, 2nd chapter, verse number 9. God is talking to the priest. Here it comes. Y'all should know there was always a bottom line to my stuff. God's talking to the priest. According to 1 Peter, 2nd chapter, verse number 9, we all are priests now. But then think about that. We're all priests now, which means the text is speaking to the preacher and the people as well, if we apply it to us today. So, it's wrong for the preacher to today to allow just any kind of worship in the Lord's house. He's wrong when he knows something's wrong and yet he doesn't. I ain't gonna talk about instrumental music. I ain't gonna talk about that. I ain't talking about all the other stuff that they've added on. But he would be wrong to allow that to happen. But it also will be wrong, understanding that you're a priest too, is that you to present any kind of worship to the Lord. Had it there come up, hey, Watch, you think we can get a guitar or a little thing? You wrong and I'm wrong. But it also means I can't preach and teach God to live in if I'm not living up to the standard that I'm trying to tell y'all to live up to. That makes sense? But that also means you can't put that same standard on me that you ain't living up to. Because you know, folks, but he's a preacher, he's supposed to know better. You're a Christian, you're supposed to know better. Folks will put me on a pedestal and say, he ain't supposed to do that. But you can get out there and fuss and fight, cut up. But he the preacher, if I fuss and fight and cut up, you the same thing as me. Don't put me to a standard that you're not willing to hold yourself on. So, in this sermon, this thing is this text. This whole thing is letting us know you can be faithful to worship and still not be faithful to God. That's all I'm saying. You can be faithful to come to church every Sunday and every time the door is open and not be faithful to God. You can be faithful to the doors opening. You can be faithful to doing everything. Make sure that you can still be unfaithful to God. You can be faithful when you come to church, do everything for people, do the acts of worship, and still not be faithful. In other words, you can be doing the right thing, but doing it the wrong way. So if you're here and you're listening, or you're online, and you're not a Christian, I want you to know that you are doing the right thing by listening. You're doing the right thing about being a part of the worship. But spiritually, you're doing it the wrong way. What am I doing that? You're missing out on the spiritual blessings that God has when you come to his worship. And what he gives because of your worship, actually gives because of who he is, but he still blesses you because of what you've done. So that means you're doing the right thing, but spiritually you're wrong. The condition that you're in, you're going to bust hell wide open. So the only way to fix that, if you'd like to change your spiritual condition, you must hear that Jesus left heaven, came to this earth, died for all our sins, he was buried, rose from the dead 3 days later according to the scriptures. Then you must believe the gospel that you just heard, repent of your sins, confess that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, and be baptized for the removal of sins. It's that simple. It's not hard, and you don't have to do a whole bunch of stuff. But if you are a Christian and you're not walking worthy of the vocation which you were called by the gospel, you need to repent and ask forgiveness of God. So if anyone needs to respond, give us a call, send us a message, do whatever you need to do. The water's always ready, and I have a key, many of us do, to get you saved. So I'll turn it over to Brother Pons for the song of encouragement.
Just as I am without